All right, we're live.
All right, so we just want to kick it off like last time.
Yeah, that's fine.
Are we? Did we agree on the name?
I thought we were just going with the Radio Roadie Roundtable thing.
All right, so this is what we're going. All right.
Yeah.
So
we should change it every time.
That would be hilarious.
Just say it slightly different, even though it's the same words. Just mispronounce it.
The Rodeo Roadies.
The Rodeo Radies.
Rodeo Radies.
Yeah.
Tables around.
Rounds, Knights of the Round.
By,
Radio Roadies.
Radies Roadie.
Welcome to Radio Roadies, Knights of the Round Table. So today we're going to be talking a bit about how music makes us feel. But before we get that started, everybody say what's up. I'll start with myself. I am Rob. I'm joined here by Sherlock.
Hello.
Joshua.
What's up?
And our homeboy Sean.
What's going on?
As always, this is going to be part of our whole Radio Roadies deal, and we're just going to sit here and talk about some things that are music related. So today we're talking about how music makes us feel. So the question I'm going to pose to you guys first is, what emotion do you feel overall most frequently when you listen to music?
Real quick,
Mm-hmm.
I want to welcome Josh to actually showing up to a podcast.
Fuck you. Yeah, fuck you.
Welcome to the podcast that you were starting with us and then didn't show up for the first time.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Welcome. Yes, sure.
Welcome to your responsibilities, you dickbag. All right, so bearing that in mind, I think Josh should start.
All right.
Music for the most part, I think the prime emotion is like I feel understood or connected. I guess probably be the best term for it.
So you say connected. Connected to like what?
It's like connected to I want to say, because for me I often given my past, I often like forget some things happened in my past, some things I've been through, and music is like always there to help remind me of that. So it's like you're connected to this. I can't say your former self, more like connected to the self that you may have forgotten. For a few reasons, you're also connected to wider community through the music. You're connected to wider struggles through the music, and it just overall can remind you of certain things you may have forgotten. So it helps out for me with that.
So it's kind of like a nostalgia. Well, I guess maybe not nostalgia, but like serves like a memory jump off for you almost.
Kind of like if I'm feeling, for example, like down or whatever, right? Music can help out in the sense that it reminds me of like, yeah, this memory I had, or it reminds me of this place I had, or this idea of this person I wanted to become, and it reminds me that, hey, you got this, or hey, you can actually, things aren't as bad as they used to be. Like it just gives me those like the grounding, you know what I mean? So it helps remind me to help keep balanced.
Is it double-edged with you in that same sort of way, though?
I can't really say it is necessarily, because when I listen to music, like what happens is I always first go for like the instrumental. So even though if I hear someone saying whatever through the lyrics, the instrumental is what it is that generates these feelings for me. You know what I mean? So what happens is like if I'm looking for some hope, I guess, or something like that, or if I'm looking to regain or reconnect or whatever, the instrumental is going to help me do that. It's not really going to bring me to a bad place, because it puts me in the state of reflection that's like optimistic, and it's really not that it doesn't really bring me to pessimism.
By the way, just as a warning for everyone, I imagine this is going to more apply to Sean and I. It's about to be July 4th. Like we're only a couple hours away, so there's probably going to be fireworks in the background.
Oh,
Rob's got a
word?
few hours
Still,
to go, and Josh is in another country, so we don't have to worry about that.
it's still daylight out here, but we get
Yeah.
fireworks every night, so I don't think that shit matters.
Okay. I just started from outside, so I figured I'd warn now. Like, no, I did not make Rob mad, and he started shooting me. We're fine.
Fun.
He would break my bones anyways. He wouldn't shoot me. He would just snap my shit up.
Anyhow. um, so, what about you, Sherlock? What emotion that is most frequent for you when you listen to music?
It falls in line with the discussion we had last episode that I sort of use it as a cinematic thing. So most of the time it just depends whatever I'm trying to feel. I will listen to the thing that lets me imagine that easier in the movie style. That being said, though, like I guess sort of in reflection of what Josh was saying, most of the time the nostalgic stuff is really double-edged with me because I was one of those people that listened to music when I felt like shit. But I'm also the type of person that doesn't really grow past the music that I used to listen to. So if I listen to things that are nostalgic in that manner, I mean, it's going to bring me back sometimes to a really shitty place that I kind of going to regret bringing myself back to, but I still enjoyed the music too much to avoid it.
That's interesting because I am the same way, but I do avoid the music that makes me feel that way.
I think I'm too masochistic.
Mm.
It's the same sort of way that, like, and obviously I'm not going to go into meanings behind them and everything like that, but like my tattoos are each related to a very specific thing that I'm making myself remember, and they're not particularly good things to remember, but that's why I'm trying to remember them because I don't see much of a point in remembering all the good shit that you've gone through because those affect who you grow into much less than the shitty things you've gone through. Because you have to enact a lot more change to bad things than good things.
I got a question for you. Oh, sorry, Rob. Go ahead.
No. I was just saying that was interesting.
Yeah, so I got a question for you, actually, Sherlock. When like the music does generate a feeling for you, like let's say it brings up a very bad, like puts you in a bad place, right? Is it always the same every time you listen to the song, or is it like or does it like gradually change, like the feeling of that it generates for you? Does it change over time every time you listen to it?
It changes in the sense that generally, depending on what the situation was, affects much more how much I guess, grow on it. So generally speaking, the more painful things, I guess, don't really change. So my reactions to them now are still very similar to how they were back when it happened. It sort of gives me a good perspective of the things that mattered more than others. Because there's some music I listen to now that a couple of years ago, if I listened to them, I would have felt like shit. But now I can listen to them and I don't think of anything.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to get the clear on that because I think now going back to the question that you asked, I would say that yeah, there's some songs that bring me to a bad spot, but just like you just said, depending on what it is, like over time I can just listen to it and it's detached from that actual memory and it's like whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But again, some stuff I can listen to, it still hits me just as hard. Like there's been no real growth from it. Which I'm actually okay with because those are the things that I want to keep reminding myself of so I can keep having that perspective. Because the shitty, like, I don't want to forget I want to forget all the shitty stuff. Anyone would want to. I don't want to actually forget it because, the cynical prick I am now is pretty much based off of that. I need to understand my foundation so at least I have reasoning behind being who I am. Otherwise, I'm just an asshole for no reason, which is fine. I'm white. I can get away with it, but I'd still rather know. I still want the reasoning I can give to people that matter. And I won't just trump my way through everything.
What about you, Sean? What is the most prevalent emotion you have when you listen to music?
It's weird because I kind of use music as an emotional like validator. So there's it never like brings me back to bad spots because I'm always using it as a way to validate those emotions that I'm feeling at the time. So it's never a negative thing for me, even if I'm listening to something that I would necessarily listen to when I was going through a bad spot. Because to be honest, I feel that bad stuff most of the time. Anyway, I guess it's like this weird Catholic guilt that like I always have. So like when I'm listening to music, it's just to validate the emotions that I am feeling, whether they're negative. I usually don't need it if it's something positive. So that's probably why I listen to a bunch of depressing shit.
Mm.
Well,
Interesting.
I don't know. It's weird. It's never like a nostalgic thing unless it's like old R&B or something, like the most danciest R&B in the world. But I don't know. Yeah, it's like it just validates my emotions.
Validates in the sense that you're like having proof that someone else felt something similar, or validate in the sense that that is what you're feeling and you're trying to like
Both.
recognize it. Okay.
Yeah, both. So it's like it validates it as it's not. I don't know. It's not. It doesn't ever feel as lonely
Mm.
as it can feel, but also as in like I'm processing it, and maybe I can't process it in a way that's like direct where I'm thinking about it. I need the music to process it for me and make me understand what I'm feeling.
So the music is almost like, I guess, weird terminology, but it's almost like a support group, just the music itself.
To an extent, yeah, yeah. Like it's abstract enough that like it's not guiding me. It's not necessarily guiding me to what I need to feel, but it's still direct enough that like I have an idea of what I'm searching for in myself. I don't know. Maybe that's a little too
Well, no,
hippie.
because I think we've talked about it before that, I mean, music can mean essentially whatever you want it to mean if you can hear that in it. So if you need some sort of validation or something like that, you're going to find the music that you're capable of finding it in. And it doesn't
Right.
really matter if it was actually saying that or not. It's just that's what you were able to hear, which is why music is awesome.
Right.
Rob.
Yeah. It's your
Uh,
town.
yeah. For me, it's a bit different. I live my life in a power fantasy, so
So you live your life like you're white.
pretty much
Fair
uh,
enough.
to the 10th power. But like, a lot of would think the emotion that have the most when I listen to music is just I don't know, like I don't want to say joy, but like high energy. I don't know how else to explain it though, because that's kind of how I try to live my life. I try to you know like boundless energy almost. So when
Sounds
certain
manic.
yeah, so like when certain things happen, I tend to kind of lean more towards stuff that's fast, um, kind of easy to follow. It was funny when you were talking about just things that your nostalgia, as it were, because like I kind of have that too, and there that I kind of said earlier is there's music I know that I like that I don't listen to because I it's closely related to something really bad. Like a perfect example is Vihesu. Like I cannot listen to Vihesu because that I listened to that more prominently when I was homeless. So it was really hard for me, and it continues to be really hard for me to kind of enjoy that for what it is because those emotions aren't really something I can detach from the music. And so like, and if anyone knows the album, you can even hear it in a lot of the songs that kind of somber feel you would get from basically spending the majority of your time, kind of alone. And so it's a perfect fit, which also adds to why I can't necessarily listen to it for what it is and just leave it there.
It's
But,
oh, sorry.
no,
Is
you're right.
it kind of like almost like a snapshot of that time period? Like every time you think about it, like it's just something that
Oh, totally. Oh, totally.
wells up. Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? When I hear 4 miles, I think the dashboard of my car because that's what I spend the most of my time looking at. Um, and you know that I can never separate that from it. So even though it's like I said, it's good music, I like it. Thrice is probably easily one of my favorite bands. Um, when listening to that particular album, I can't escape that feeling. Uh, and I guess I listen to it a lot the same way, as far as it validating how I feel. But certain things I just can't do, regardless of how I feel. That being one of them.
Do you have any real, like, I'll say the word interest, but it's probably not the best word, but do you have any real foundation or interest in nostalgia when it comes to music? Like, do you listen to a lot of stuff that you listened to back in the day, or do you focus more on things now?
It's half and half. I mean, as I'm getting older, I'm really sort of appreciating, and I talk with Sean about this all the time. I'm really appreciating the R&B. You know what I mean? So in that sense, it's just like I'll go back and listen to Mint Condition or somebody like that, just to kind of go back and experience that, because there was a sound to it, right? It's not just a place and time. There's a sound associated with it. So I would definitely say like half and half.
But that nostalgia, like the R&B that you're going back to, are you going back to it because, like, are you going back to it sonically, or are you going back to it because of the memories attached to it? Or are you just trying almost to, like, bridge the memories to new ones?
That's really interesting, because the thing about it is part of the reason why I connect with it now, and I'm starting to do that, is because when I was a child, we lived in a very, very, very bad neighborhood, and the idea was always music was a distraction. And this is me in kindergarten. Music is a distraction. We need to get the fuck up out the hood, and the only way we're going to do that is going to school.
Same shit, yeah.
So, I mean, I remember being first grade, getting on my older sister, like, oh, you know the lyrics to that song, but you don't know how to do your math. So it was just like I didn't really have the appreciation for it when I was a kid. So I don't really necessarily feel like there's something to link that back to, because I've always been a cantankerous old man.
Okay, so what I think the best way to describe the music you listen to now would not the word progressive, but progress. You listen to music that always sounds like it's going forward. That's why you listen to high energy stuff, and that's why. And I feel like an asshole saying it like this. I feel like I'm just defining your shit all of a sudden.
No, it's fair. You're good.
Like, you do the nostalgic thing, the stuff that you never had a chance to build your memories off of because you weren't allowed to at the time, which is why you're going back to the R&B and stuff like that. But you stay away from stuff you did build memories to. The stuff you listen to now is stuff that is fast and constantly moving forward, because that's what you do, and that's what you were raised to do when you were little in the first place, which is why you never built the memories on that earlier R&B and stuff like that, because you were too busy going forward to focus on it.
You're a shark.
Yeah.
Musically, you're a shark.
Yes.
I actually do have a question for Rob, and for the rest of you too, if you want to chime in on
Jay.
it. Yeah. So just wanna. So like one thing was I remember this stuck with me. One of the few things from my brother, but because he used to make he still makes beats like instrumentals and stuff. He's essentially a music producer and stuff, but. He had said to me anytime I was listening, he saw me like listening to a song or whatever, because I would just be alone in the room listening to music and stuff like that. That was my escape when I was younger. And when he would see me doing that, he would just like, I remember one day he came in and started bobbing his head at me, and he was like, "This ain't gonna be the same for you in 10 years. This ain't gonna mean the same thing." And I don't know, something about that stuck with me. So I wanted to ask the question, like, when you listen to a song, like, is there any music that kind of has changed as you've changed?
Changed as I changed.
Do you mean in its like context, or like the context that you have
The
compared to
content.
you?
Oh yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Like, well, I just mean like, do you mean like, I guess like in its like meaning that it had for you when you were younger compared to what it means to you now? Do you mean like that?
Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, I got you.
I mean, I don't think so. Not that I can recall. And that's, like I said earlier, mostly it's because I didn't really connect with music that much when I was younger. So,
All right, cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know how I feel about that question, to be honest.
That's
I mean, I think the only way that I can think of it is that there are songs that used to give me that like validation that I was talking about earlier that I don't feel as strongly like in that way about. Like it doesn't have the same effect on me as it maybe did in that time period. So I mean, like, I don't know, maybe that's not necessarily the same thing that you're saying, but it kind of loses its significance for me,
Well,
I
yeah.
guess.
Yeah, I mean that's an element that is what I was saying pretty much. Like, is there like has it changed with you? That doesn't necessarily mean it had to be positive. It doesn't mean it had to be on track with you. It could have just fell out of favor for you. But yeah, so yeah, something like that. Because I can name like two songs that I still listen to. That while the everything about the song is the same, the what the song inspires and what the song brings up has changed over the years.
Well, I think that's going to happen a lot with, especially if there are songs that you were more inclined when you were younger because of what they were saying. And then when you're older, the things that they were saying mean something very different now that you've experienced a lot more. So, I mean, there's plenty of music that I liked when I was much younger that now, like, and I thought they were fantastic lyrically, and now I think that their fucking lyrics are horrible. But I didn't understand that at the time. When I was younger, I was like, this shit means everything. Like this is saying the truth of what's going on right now. And I listen back now, I was like, this doesn't say shit. Like I'm just an idiot. But that's sort of what I was saying to Sean before, is that at the time it did mean that. Like that's what I got out of it. It's just over time it stopped saying that almost for me. Not to me, it wasn't saying it for me anymore. So in the same sort of way that there was a lot of music that I didn't give a shit about when I was younger, and it does mean more to me now because now I'm able to look into it in a less superficial sort of way, look at it more sonically, and appreciate the music more than I did back then instead of just focusing on the lyrics, which still I'm a lyric focused person. But I mean, I didn't appreciate like Circa Survive a few years ago as much as I do now. Like I didn't. It took a long time for me to get into Coheed and Cambria because honestly, it was a superficial thing. I couldn't get past the voice. It took getting into bands like Circa to get to that. Which all of this pretty much goes down to Sean because he got me into a majority of the music I listen to.
I waterboarded you into doing
Yeah,
it.
he just kept pouring it on me until I almost drowned. And I was like, fine, I'll listen to it. Please stop.
So it's kind of fitting you bring up Coheed because that was kind of the reason why this idea came to head, talking about emotions, because me and Sean have both talked a lot about how particular songs that Coheed does makes us feel a particular way. So it's less of us influencing the music we're listening to and more the music influencing us. So, for example, Vic the Butcher, I could be perfectly at peace or okay or whatever, and then Vic the Butcher comes on, and I want to unzip someone's face with my foot.
Gandhi would want to do that after Vic the Butcher.
Yeah.
So I guess the question I have is like, is there any instance in your mind that stands out where music does that for you. So like, affected the other way around.
So
Or it
instead of
takes your-
validating yourself, the music is changing what you're feeling just because you're listening to it.
Yes.
I mean, like, yeah, I mean, like, Vic Butcher is a perfect example. Honestly, it's going to be a lot of the Coheed songs, like
Oh, yeah.
Gravity's Union, fucking, like, a lot of the circus stuff. It's just, like, where it'll take you from being calm to, like, wanting to punch a hole in the asshole of the universe. Like,
There's already a hole. It's an asshole.
well, I want to punch another one.
Jesus Christ.
Iron Fist. That'll make me sad in a heartbeat. I listen to Iron Fist.
Oh yeah, like Away We Go, the fucking love song. I don't even believe in love, and that song makes me go like, oh yeah, that must be what it feels like.
Like Josh could probably know this, but if I listen to "Fuck You, Lucy" by Atmosphere, I'm pissed. Like I'm pissed on his behalf. Like, because that's such an angry song. Like, "Gentleman" by Me Without You, which he, like, at the beginning of every live version of that song now, he has to straight up tell the crowd he doesn't feel that way anymore because of how angry it is. Like, and it'll make me angry if I listen to it.
Yeah. There's some artists, hip hop artists that do that for me. And
Did you
it's
say
mainly when
Pitbull?
it. Huh?
Did you say Pitbull?
God damn it!
I swear he said
Mr. Worldwide makes me mad too.
I did not say Pitbull. What the fuck? I say Pitbull.
Alright,
Hip hop artists
sorry.
that do that for
Okay.
him.
Okay, it's Skip.
Pitbull ain't no hip hop artist.
He's Mr. Worldwide, man. Why you gotta talk shit?
but
Josh, why you hitting on your cousin, bro?
God damn it!
His cousin, that's literally Josh.
I was about to do a review, but his album
Josh
came
grows
out
a
last
soul
year,
patch
not
and just
this
starts
year.
rapping.
Get a few
But,
shades lighter, you got it.
God damn it.
True.
But nah, the artist, the Alchemist,
Mm.
he usually puts me in that mood because it's always, with hip hop, it's not always just the lyrics, because the lyrics could be like spot on or something, but if it's mixed with a shit beat, like it's not gonna bring in that mood. And like, so with the Alchemist, he's usually working with like some of these top producers that really aren't known that well, but because their names aren't out there. But like the most recent one was like Havoc, and the shit just blends together. It just throws you in this angry mood. Like you just want to fuck someone up afterwards. And I gotta say, with the music that was introduced when we did this like years ago, it had a similar effect. So I couldn't listen to it for too long actually because of that.
Sean? Are you there, Sean?
Yeah,
Okay,
I am.
anyway. Okay.
Muted.
Sorry.
It's cool. It's cool. This was kind of an interesting question, I guess, for me because, of course, you have Vic the Butcher, a lot of Coheed stuff that really fits the mold for that. But I actually listen to a lot of battle rap, and the thing about battle rap is it's just as much lyrical content as performance. And so there's some stuff in it that's just like it hits so damn hard, especially if your background is a lot like what they're talking about. Like an example, one guy, he's flowing, and then the subject of his father being a snitch comes up, and so he scraps his whole third round and goes into this whole thing about, fuck my pop's life, some shit about how like his mom used to run numbers and then the cops came and beat her half to death. You don't understand me. Fuck my pop's life. My mom's was the real gangster in my family. Like that shit hit so hard because I grew up in an area where a lot of people didn't have their fathers, But B, you know what I'm saying, like those were life experiences I actually seen. Like I know kids whose their mom's only choice was, you know what I'm saying, to sling that, sling that shit. And you know what I'm saying, the whole like, hip hop, like, oh man, you got to be G'd up. This dude is G'd up. You know, it it put the idea of the burden that a lot of women have to deal with in that situation, and it kind of turned it so that's what's gangster. And it's kind of funny too because there's another rapper who kind of the same thing, you know, uh your father wasn't no gangster. He was just another lost nigga talking about how, he was on the block. Why was he too cool to fly to friendly skies? And, all he did by not being there is to make sure that, he would see his son in 5 to 10, which was talking about how, like, not being there basically meant his son was going to act like a fucking idiot and end up in jail. Like, shit like that that shit moves you. And a lot of it is the delivery, but another part of it is, like, the lyrical content. And so it really makes you feel, it puts you in that position. The performance puts you in that position, and then the words are what fucking hits.
Well, it's like it's you can tell that it's autobiographical. It's not this thing that someone's pulling from the ether of like, oh yeah, like everybody in this particular situation like is about guns and drugs and blah blah blah. It's like, no, this is like the literal reality of my life.
Yeah. And whenever that type of shit happens, it's like, it's moving. It makes you want to, like, stand up, I guess. So it's kind of cool.
It's pretty damn, like, not to, like, bring it in here because I'm not the most advocative person of it, but, like, that's a pretty damn feminist line, not based off of academia. That's reality. That's a perspective, and that's not coming from like a textbook or someone like whatever. Like, right? It's not internet. It's not like whatever. Yeah, it's not theory. It's the literal like equality of like this is what makes you a badass.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of crazy to think about music in terms of like mood altering. It's weird because it's just like, to me, it's one of those things. One of my biggest gripes is people go on, oh, I love music. No, really, do you listen to it? Just when I'm in the car driving. Whenever I feel bad, I want to listen to music. And it's like, oh, really? Well, what do you listen to? Oh, the radio. Everything,
though, like, I don't have an issue with that. Like, and people can love music in different ways. It's still going to mean something to them. It's just, I think we just attach ourselves to music much more than they do.
Exactly. My thing is that, to me, that's not love. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you said you love somebody, and instead of being with them, you only were with them when it was convenient for you and there's no one else around, no one's gonna assume you love that person. You know what I'm saying? There has to be something else behind it. I don't know, but maybe that's just me though.
Even then, it doesn't ever feel like, when people are like saying that, it doesn't ever feel like, not to go all snobbish, but like it doesn't feel like there's a deep, emotional, passionate attachment to what they're saying, to the words that they're saying. Because when people ask me like, oh, what do you listen to? It's hard for me to describe because like I listen to shit that's not going to be on the radio. I can't say everything because I don't like everything. I have to narrow it down because it means so much to me.
Yeah.
See, I don't do that, though. Someone asks me what I listen to, I say everything except for ska and country. Because that's what I listen to. Everything except for ska and country.
I mean, but,
there is some ska.
The thing about that is that's fair, though, because it's like, I feel like you're here, you know what I'm saying? Like, how many people do you honestly think would give up one of their days off of work to just sit down and talk about music in this fashion? And to me, that's, you know what I'm saying, like, that's like love. That, you know what I'm saying, it's not even, oh, I'm on to this new shit over here, like, oh man, this is, blah blah blah. It's like, when you actually love some shit, you actually care about some shit, it permeates just what I'm doing when I'm in the gym, in the shower, or in my car. It takes up your free time, and you ruminate over it, you know what I mean? It's not so, I don't know the word, I guess. It's not
fleeting?
so yeah, like like on the outside. You know what I mean? But
I,
once
I
again,
feel
like,
I feel where you're coming from. I don't know.
I,
It
I
almost
guess,
comes off to me as that gamer girl thing.
but I guess
Oh,
my
you
thing.
like games? What's Mario's middle name? It's like
What the fuck?
it still likes the games.
that's
Like,
fair.
I absolutely
Yeah, that's fair.
agree with you in regards to how I feel about music, and I agree completely with that. But I don't think I'd agree in saying that someone who isn't that almost fanatically like essentialized by it, where like it has to be a part of my life. I wouldn't downplay someone else's caring for the music because they don't have the same level, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it's less of an issue of how fervent they are, and just to me, it's more of a it's become a thing to say just because it's a
Cliche.
thing to say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just don't want to get fanatical about it. Where
Mm-hmm.
But I guess
I love God more than you love God, like that sort of thing. Like,
yeah, but I mean, we're not gonna murder anybody over it.
hey.
But you don't know me.
Rob will snatch your shit up.
Yeah, I'm feeling like that right about now.
I'll
But
put some Dragon Force on and just break your arms.
but you know yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from. We don't want it to be fanatical. It's just
I don't want to be exclusive. I don't
Yes,
want to
that's
push
good.
people out of it and be afraid to be at our level because they feel like they're not because we're saying that it's not the same as us. Like that worries me. I don't want to
Well,
ever be the reason
see.
someone doesn't get to this same point in music just because it's like the saying that like you're not a real fan of this band because you just got into them. Like you
well,
only listen to the new album.
No,
Like,
that's
that's,
gotta
I,
recognize we-
that's definitely fair.
yeah.
I think my thing is not even necessarily an issue of like whether they like it or not. I feel like when I say I love it and they say they love it, it's being seen as two. It's being seen as the same thing when they're two vastly different things.
well, yeah, it's a perspective thing. It's always going to be.
Well, let's also put this in the context too. When we're talking about like music. Music is often very personal to people, regardless of how much they express that or not. Because for example, in this room right now, most of us are quite open with how we talk about our emotion or our struggles, and we put that shit out there we put that shit out there. There's people that
Who the fuck is we? Are you French?
that was good. That was good. But anyways, but not. So like, there's people out there that they can't even bring themselves to tell somebody else that they're upset or that they're sad. So when they talk about music, which is something often again deeply personal, right? They can barely bring themselves to express how that music might make them feel. How exactly that music impacted them. So I can't always fault somebody for not like expressing the same amount of enthusiasm, I guess you could say, for music, because it's also very often intertwined with just how well you are, even like with just talking about yourself in general.
But at the same time, though, it's like there are also like the people who will be like, "Oh, why is he listening to that sad shit?" Like, you know what I'm saying, or why are you listening to this? Or I don't know, like,
It's happened to me.
right? Whereas like, hey, there was like this like I don't know, it was like a hip hop video where the dude was like talking about suicide, and like 95% of the comments was like, "Why this nigga always talking about depression shit?" Like,
Dear God, you read the comment section?
well, I'm just saying as an example, like I think there's like a commodification of music that
No doubt.
that leads to that shallowness of it, right? So
No doubt.
I get what Rob's saying. I get what Sherlock's saying, where you don't want to be exclusive, but at the same time, there is a real thing where it's like sometimes when people say it, they're just saying it because it's conversation filler.
On the same token, though, like, and to say first, reading the comment section is like reading the ingredients in a juice box. You don't do that shit. Like, just drink your juice. You don't want to know what's in it. Just drink it.
Right.
But
I just use that as an example. Like
even people, like, say for example, someone who's going to say, my favorite artist of all time is Katy Perry. There are people out there that say that. there's nothing wrong with that. If that's the music that meant something to them, even if it doesn't make sense in a way that we could ever agree with.
That's fair.
I mean,
Because
yeah.
people have different perspectives. Like everything Rob said about the like rap battles, that is completely socially and culturally just out of my bounds. That's why I didn't say anything on it, because I have zero to say on that because I have no exposure. Like, I have no exposure to what some 12-year-old girl is going through right now. If Lady Gaga is what's getting her through it, even if it's 100% a positive life and that's still what she's attaching those memories to, 100% okay with that. I'm glad for it. Like, make those memories and make those connections. I'm not going to agree with them because I fucking hate Lady Gaga, but enjoy what you enjoy and go with it. Like, I'm never going to try to exclude someone from being in love in their way.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, to me, it doesn't really come down to like so much how you love it. Is that I question the validity of that statement. But
No,
you're right.
That's fine with what Sean was saying about the comments. There are assholes like that.
Yeah.
But them shit talking that song doesn't mean they don't also appreciate music. They just didn't appreciate that, and they might just not appreciate other people, and they're being trolls.
I may be like taking this like a little bit too far, but maybe that's like a black thing or a black person who listens so thing, because I feel like a lot of times there's a lot of people who want to force you into like a box of music that you have to listen to. So there's a little bit of a sacrifice that goes into liking the music that you like. And when someone comes along and says like, "Oh, yeah, I like everything," and it's like, "Yeah, all right, yeah, I mean that's fine," but also you're kind of full of shit because.
Like, well, it's another social thing. I think that's like a white response. Oh yeah, we listen to everything, and everyone's okay with that.
Right.
Like,
Actually,
that's fair, maybe.
You know too, when it comes to that, like I remember when I was younger, that's when I started getting into like rock music a lot, and black people and Latinos were just like, "Why the fuck are you listening to that shit?" Like,
yeah, no, I know
that shit came up a lot, and I remember, I knew that was at a point where I knew a lot more about rock music than I knew about hip hop. And that was a problem for people for some reason.
With that, and I guess that's another thing with it, right? We connect a whole culture to music, and unfortunately, as people of color, we're very often relegated to very fine, very specific parts of that,
which is hilarious.
And then we steal it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, which is hilarious.
That's why we're allowed to say we like everything, because we took everything. Since we took all of it, we like no one questions us. Like,
of course we like it all.
For some white kid to say they like hip hop,
He's speaking from the soul right now.
Like, no, I'm allowed to like hip hop. Eminem was big.
We like it so much. We like it so much. We make it from your house.
But like we take all that shit but we don't really give any aspect of it back, which is why it's still so like stigmatized for black people and Spanish people to like metal. Like it's so stigmatized. It's like we just took that whole blues aspect or whatever from you guys, and we just molded it into something angry.
Threw some axes on there.
Yeah, axes. We just molded it into an anger that we also took from you because you were rightfully angry. Like everything, we've just taken every aspect of our music.
But like, I guess
culture from you guys.
Not even going that deep though. Like, I'm just saying, like, just the idea of like having to fight for, like, and I don't mean like, yeah, exactly.
But and you're totally good because in some cases it was fight. You know what I'm saying? I've had to throw hands with a couple people just because there go that dude, he listens to white music and I refuse to stand for that shit. You know what I'm saying? I've had to throw hands with niggas.
Yeah. And like
that's such a culturally different thing because I mean I don't have to fight for my explanations of why I enjoy things. Like that's my
you're allowed
the bullshit I'm just given for being who I am.
Unless, like, maybe you're in, like, well, I don't know, maybe, like, 10 years ago, and you were on some like I don't know trailer park and the white
Like
people were like, why are you listening to
Eminem.
all that rap? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, we can even put this in real terms. There was a disco burning in the 70s, and it was because disco was a problem. Now, disco, I'll always contend, was a fun music genre, and when you really look it down, you can paint it by color lines.
Right.
It was dance music. A lot of black people liked it. And where did the burn take place? In a baseball field. And when you look at all the pictures in the libraries of that particular burn, almost everyone you saw was unabashedly white. And only a few people you could say maybe they were, Latino, but it's very real. It's not even, we had to fight for stuff with our own people that we like, and then we have to fight other people for falling quote unquote in line with it, because their issue wasn't necessarily even with the music itself. It was that it was catching so much attention.
It was encroaching on rock music or whatever, like the popular.
Yeah, it was rock music at the time.
Yeah.
And but I say all that to say, with the whole like how people feel about music and how they, the emotions that come from it and how they love it, how they feel about it, how they consume it. I really feel like after this conversation, I feel like maybe my issue is just lack of terminology. You know what I'm saying? Like, so if this person who quote unquote loves music, and by all means they totally could, but they're, only consuming it in a car or, very passively, I feel like it's fine for them to have that, but then what is it that we have? You feel me? Because
it's not terminology; it's definition.
Yeah.
You're starting to encroach on like the idea of like almost like being a nerd, right? And how like everything's nerdy, and some people get like a little bit of. And I'm not saying you have a persecution thing about it, but I'm just saying like it's like almost that idea of like you had to fight for something, and everybody else is like all of a sudden, including some of the people that you had to fight against, are coming along and saying like, oh yeah, we love that too. This isn't yours anymore. This is everybody's, right?
And you're right.
All music matters, Rob.
You hit
but
something.
I'm just saying it's a complex. I'm not saying like that's as important as like whatever human rights thing, but like that, I think that's a complex, very real emotional prospect when it comes to things that you love and you have to fight for, even if they're not important.
Yeah, bruh, up and down that road, you're totally right. And maybe it is a persecution complex, but I think one of the things with that is people don't like watching others get a free pass after they've suffered through something.
Right.
I really think that's what it is. And maybe that's where I am with music, where it's just like, you know what I mean? Like with the nerd shit, like, hey, people used to fuck with me about these comic books. It's harder to go, well, hey man, I got good comic book movies now out of the deal. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to really look at it like that when you've come up in a culture where it's just like, well, fuck you, you goddamn nerd.
Yeah, you basement dwelling, blah blah. Yeah, or like
sex having, pasty skin looking bastard.
When you put it back to music too, like I think that you get a lot of that in where some bands change too, right? Where they have to change to appeal to a larger audience. So I think that's like that becomes a little bit of it as well. Like there's so much going on where music is like such a personal thing, but Sherlock's right, where it has to be a thing for everybody, and it's hard to parse those feelings that are involved in that separation between those two things. I don't know. Did any of that make sense? Maybe that was just word jumble.
Well, yeah, it's the same sort of way that like you're never going to know what someone's reasoning behind their adoration of music is. In the same sort of way, they're never going to understand yours. So.
I think. Oh yeah. Sorry.
No, you're good.
No, I think. I was gonna say like I think it just goes down to kind of what you hear when if you're in any like social science class or whatever, one of the first things you usually hear is that your experience isn't like, the truth.
It's not
And it's
universal.
like, yeah, it's not universal. So like your definition of music isn't universal. It's never gonna be because you got so many other people that are gonna interpret it in so many other ways. You're never gonna find like a cohesive, like, agreed upon definition when you're talking with anyone else about it. Just between the four of us. I mean, it's different. So I think when you're talking with someone who you might see their engagement with it as superficial, it might be quite that actually might be quite a lot for them. So
Yeah, fuck them.
It's, it's awesome because it is like it's a very human thing in that it's like what's the word, like there's a dissonance there, there's two things that don't work together. I don't know, I'm blanking on the word right now.
No, I see what you're saying.
Contradiction. They contradict each other.
yeah.
Where it's so personal, but it's so universal, and like you're trying to reconcile the two things in a matter of degrees.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of funny. So, when we talk about using music for emotions, I see a lot of that in corporate stuff too, and this is kind of a offshoot of what we were just talking about. What's up?
It is a corporate, just in a whole different way.
And movies too.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the idea of music kind of messing with emotions in a way that I guess is so prevalent that it's being monetized and kind of done factory now. Are there any instances of that you guys feel is pretty, I guess, effective is the word?
Taylor Swift.
Any Taylor Swift. any Apple video, any Apple product commercial always has some sappy music with like a family in it, and it's telling you that this cold piece of metal is something you should love.
Jesus Christ.
God damn.
To me, whenever I think about music and stirring emotions, I always kind of go back to, I mean, in a corporate sense, I always go back to, and I don't know if you guys had this where you from, there was a period in Burger King's time where all their music in their commercials was like Al Green and shit like that. Do you guys remember that?
No, I don't.
Yeah. There was a period, I want to say it was like maybe a year or two, where pretty much every Burger King commercial was like Al Green or something. And it's kind of funny to me because that started working, because in the area I was around, I remember a lot of black people, I mean, straight up, like, they weren't fucking with McDonald's in that way. And I feel like that was like a marketing campaign, and it was a win.
You know what? To add to that, McDonald's in the last like few years,
I'm loving it.
Yeah, they've also they've gone over like Community, right? And they featured like a lot of just a lot of some generic ass, basic ass like hip hop beats, but they talk about, but they usually talk about like community and how like McDonald's is bringing the people together and all this stuff. It's given like
the Whack Arnold commercial.
Yeah, like the Whack Arnold pretty much. But yeah, McDonald's is like doing that shit. So like they're taking advantage that these people are looking for hope, and they're taking advantage that a lot of people are lonely too at the same time, and they feel lonely in their struggle. So McDonald's is like, we're bringing people together, and like like
we're giving black people jobs. And like actually putting them on TV.
Yeah.
I don't watch TV, so this is hard for me.
It's funny. It's just
No, I mean, go ahead. Sorry.
No. You're right. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Finish.
I was just
No,
gonna
you.
say
No, you. How about you? No,
the
No, you
idea,
can't go.
right, is that it's funny. It's like music is not necessarily food. It's not something you would associate with food. Yet you'll be hard pressed to think of anything that's trying to sell you food where music wasn't a heavy major consideration for it, right? Because it's just like the idea is white people are maybe a bit more health conscious, so let's give our fast food campaigns a more urban tilt. And what is the result of that? The result of that is kind of what you see, the I'm loving it campaign, the stuff with Burger King in the late '90s, I want to say it was, and it's just going back to how like even like just the emotions we feel when we listen to music is being kind of used against us. So it's a very real thing.
Food's emotional too,
No,
though.
Food's very emotional, yeah.
you know, I mean, I gotta kind of disagree a little bit with that point, Rob, because
Never in your life, nigga.
nah, because music is still used heavily in for especially for white restaurants or whatever, like the white people attend and stuff like that. It's just the music is a lot different.
No, I wasn't saying that they wasn't. I was just saying
Oh.
that was a the whole I'm loving it thing was a
Specific.
very targeted
Oh
specific
yeah, oh yeah,
thing.
no doubt, yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I got you. Yeah, but no, the way with music is that music, just like an image, just like colors, they're trying to essentially get that brand message stuck in your mind. You hear this little chime, a little piece of it, you're gonna think about them. And then I guess it goes back to that memory, the
Association.
memory thing, right? Yeah, the memory association that we get with music. So it's like
Yeah, but
you hear that beat, you're thinking about McDonald's. Oh, I'm loving it.
That's been going on forever.
No, exactly, yeah, but I mean,
It's like I Love Lucy days.
yeah, that shit was shit.
When
all right, calm down.
time began.
Just because your uncle was in it.
Go fuck you.
Pitbull was in it? Dale Arnaz?
Screw. Wow, nice.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow.
Let's go pull.
Wow. Fuck you guys.
Alright, we need to wrap this up.
All right. So just any final thoughts, anybody? Words for the wordless?
Everything you love will be weaponized and used to sell you stuff.
Yeah.
Sean is right. He always has been. That's what I'll leave you guys
And
with.
white people have done it.
If I die, even if they say it was suicide, it was murder. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for the second episode and the first that Josh was ever in.
Probably the last, because motherfucker wants
Rodeo Roadies at the night table, round table discussion. If you like more, you can subscribe. I don't know how that's going to work. We don't know how this is going down. I'm pretty sure there's more of us somewhere.
If you want more, you can do things. We just don't know what the things are yet.
Yeah, I mean, fuck. All right, everybody say peace.
Goodbye.
Later. Late.